Hey, what's up, YouTube? Okay, so in the last couple of videos that I've made, um, lots of black and white arguments. People on one side, people on the other side, and it's just this yelling match of words bouncing off of each other, or not even words bouncing off of each other, just words passing other words in the night. I think there's something we need to go back to and talk about for a second. All the things that I make videos on are based on my principles and what my principles guide me to. I'm not saying that my principles are the only way to look at the world, but they are my way of looking at the world. Let's take the NHS video, for example. My principles and values are against NHS and socialized medicine. I think that the people of the world are better off striving and paying for their own way. And those that can't need to humble themselves and get help from charitable organizations or other third parties. Now, the obvious response that everybody that disagrees with me principle-wise will say is, well, there's not enough money to go around in those situations, so on and so forth, etc., and that we have to pay a little bit of something. Well, how do you know? Because we're not doing that. There's no country doing that right now. That doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just means that no other country is doing it right now. But okay, let's say that we keep Medicaid and Medicare, but we reform insurance. And we say, okay, we're going to increase, again, this is one of my principles, is about capitalist values in increasing the amount of competition. And the way you increase the amount of competition is remove the government. Okay, these are my principles, my guidelines that guide the way I look at the world. When I see things like the Chick-fil-A video, right? I don't see a threat to gay people. I see one man who owns a very profitable company saying that he lives his life and tries to have his company live the guidelines of the Bible. That's his First Amendment rights. I'm more about protecting the First Amendment rights of that individual, even stuff I don't like, words I don't like, things I don't like to hear, than I am repressing those things. Because once you start repressing it, it's a long, long road down to where the bad places go and where history is turned on the people, the citizens of the country, and they lived under tyranny and destruction. That's it. That's the principle of it. The discussing Chick-fil-A as a current event, that's just a thing that's going on. It's really about my value system and my principles that guide it. Not much more I can say about that. Let's see. The First Amendment right is more important than people being offended that the president of Chick-fil-A may not like gay people. You know what's funny is I bet you he has no problem with a gay individual or groups of gay people, but as a group, his principles and values are against them. It's not that he doesn't like the individual, it's that he doesn't like the group that they represent or his feeling that he gets religiously. I'm putting words in his mouth. I don't know this, but this is another one of my principles that I think gets thrown around a little bit and really confused. You can have sympathy on the micro level, but you must have or try to be objective at the macro level. It kind of goes back to the whole insurance thing again. I feel sorry for the individual at the micro level that I know that's affected by insurance or the lack of money to pay for medical, so on and so forth. So on my micro level, I'm inclined to help via charities or even give money in some cases. Okay? But at the macro level, those are two separate things. And the way we look at how people are governed, we have to stop and say, look, I need to bring myself out of the microcosms that I live in. I need to try and disconnect my feelings that I have towards people around me that are affected in these ways and look at the larger macro level of what's really going on. Now, when you talk macro, then you live with this whole what's the greater good, or the majority starts ruling. And that's the trick with these principles and values, is you have to look at what is good for the macro is not necessarily meaning what the majority gets or what the majority wants. It's what's good in the macro of the long term for the country or the individuals therein. Okay, so what did I just say? I said that there's a whole lot of people that may want one thing, but what they really want is not good for them. Like the locked or fixed magazine ban that they're trying to push through in California. There's a whole lot of people that want it. There's a whole lot of people that want it. But that goes against what this country's about. It's a violation of Second Amendment rights. Now, you may disagree with me on what you qualify as the right to bear arms or what even an arm is, but you have to at least acknowledge that it is a restriction imposed by the government. If it's a restriction imposed by the government, it can't be good for someone. And if things keep getting worse and worse and worse, it's going to affect more and more people. The obvious response that somebody would make against me is saying, well, who would need a semi-automatic fixed magazine rifle? So, well, the same people that could have used such a rifle in the killing fields, the same ones that could have used it in the Jewish ghettos or when they were collected and put on trains and packed in. And you go, but Josh, that's not today. We don't live in those worlds. We don't live in a world like that anymore. If that's the case, then we all, as a collective human species, must have evolved at some point. And I don't remember when that happened. And I don't remember seeing any scientific proof that happened. The only thing that's happened is we've gotten more connected in terms of communication and have gotten better at killing each other, frankly. Our technology has improved in the way that we can use certain implements to hurt other people. But we never improved upon our principles, our psyche, our systems that we have in place, our minds. We've never evolved our minds. So what does that mean? It means what you need to do is, as we come together more, we have to realize that we're still individuals with rights and things that shouldn't be restricted upon. Okay? So, what do? Well, don't get caught up with your feelings. Don't get caught up in the micro. And bring yourself out of a hot button issue and talk about what the principles are behind it. What is the NHS versus Obamacare discussion? What led to us being at this point? What in history, right, led to the point where Obamacare is now in place? The Filburn v. Roscoe, I think it was. Or the Chick-fil-A thing. How did we get to the point that an individual can come out, make his feelings known, and have people want to restrict his way of life, even though that the business that he runs is not no one's been hurt, no one's been discriminated against regarding Chick-fil-A. So what are we doing? We're getting ourselves wrapped up with the microcosm, the feelings, the how does this make me feel, instead of pulling ourselves back and understanding that if I bend to change this one man's words, even if I don't like them, that I'm going to affect a whole lot of people. It may not even be you or your little microcosm that gets affected. You may live your whole life. You may ban all Chick-fil-A's in your state, and you and your little microcosm are going to be happy. You're going to live on your little hill, and you're going to think that you did something positive. But then, when you're dead and gone, and the generations that have come back and are now dealing with the repercussions of what you have put in place, is that right? Is that something we should take a second and think about? I don't know. But anyway, lots of heated discussion on both sides, and some trolling. But the point should be talking about the principles of it, which is what I try to do, but sometimes that may not come through completely. So I hope this clarified things. All right, guys, take it easy.